Guys, today I would like to talk about one of the agenda of capitalism and commercialism that was introduced during the World War II was one of their agenda. That's the result of what we see today, and that's the result of what we will see in future, because capitalism won during that war, according to my understanding and my investigating what they were fighting for during that World War II. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you can make your research and then come up with the result. Then we will learn from it. We don't have a problem of learning. We learn every day. But what we see today, guys, worldwide, is because of the result of the World War II. That's the biggest war in this world worldwide. People are fighting. Even the Americans today are fighting with the Iran people. But that's not the big war. The biggest war in this world was the World War II, whereby these people, one of the agenda that I found that they were fighting for was capitalism and commercialism. That thing started the word colonizing. They started to colonize the nearest country to introduce or to force them to go with them with the idea that they think was the best. The Americans were going with capitalism, the Russians were going with commercialism. The Russians colonized the nearest country to go with them to say commercialism is the best. And then the American colonized the nearest country to go with them and say capitalism is the best. But unfortunately, something happened in the other way. The Americans won. Capitalism is ruling the world, as we see. Commercialism was not supported, or Russia has not colonized many countries so that he can win the war. The Americans colonized many countries so that they can win the war. They indicated the countries that they colonized that these people are going with us, and then they say they want capitalism. You will lose, because the number of indication of the country that you colonized are less than what we have. That's the way capitalism won the war during that time. That's why what we see today is the result of that war. That's the way you see when people, the richer become richer, the poor become poor. That's the slogan, or that's the result of capitalism. That's the way it is. Commercialism, there was no one who's going to be richer than anyone. Everyone was going to be equal. But people were going to differ according to the skill that they have, according to commercialism. If you are uneducated, you will not be able to be same with the person who is educated. That how was commercialism. But you were going to be able even to live without working. Capitalism, there is no way you can live without working. You have to work hard in order to get whatever you want. So that's the way it is. Capitalism is depressing us around the world. Everyone who has grown to a poor family. If you come from a poor family, there is no way you can succeed. If you succeed, it's a lucky or it's hard work. That's capitalism. But commercialism was simple. You choose how you want to live. You don't own anything. Anything is owned by the states, and the states give to the people according to your skill. If you're a doctor, your life won't be the same with the one maybe who's doing general work. Then there will be people who are not working, but they will have the access to have food on supermarket or superstores, even liquor. People who drink, they will going to have access to have a certain amount of liquor per month according to commercialism, because anything is owned by the state is not owned by human being individual. And then whereby comes capitalism. Capitalism, anything is private, anything is owned by one person. You see, that's why we are suffering today if you come from a poor family. Because if you get money, you have to start by building your background, where you come from. You can't be shining while your background is not looking familiar with what you are doing. You have to start by building your background. You know what I'm talking about as a black child. If you get money, there is no way you can build a big house without building a big house where you come from, your father's house. You have to start by building a big house for your father. Unless otherwise, if your father was successful, then he built that big house, that mansion, then he bought those cars, maybe 5 or 3. Then you know, if you have that money, now you have to start your own life. But if you come from a poor family, you know there is no way. Some people say, yeah, if you have money, you have to think for yourself, you have to build your own. According to the black child, that's not the way it is. We start by going where we come from and changing everything. Guys, today we are where we are because of the result of capitalism and commercialism. So people must not be confused about this thing. According to my understanding, capitalism won the war. Even you can see today, the Americans, they think they are the ones who own the world. Whatever is happening, they are always there. There is no way something is happening around the world, they are not there. They are always there because they think they are the one who rule the world. Because according to that World War II agenda number 1, capitalism and commercialism, capitalism won the war. They won't state the fact, but according, if you read and understand the result of that war, capitalism won the war. That's why the Americans think that they own everything around the world. And come, I tell you, they do. But there is one country that they are afraid to, that is China. And then if you know what I'm talking about, you know why they are afraid of China. Because they go there to China to colonize China. China agreed to be colonized, but the Chinese, at the middle of the process, they changed their mind, and the Americans were building a nuclear weapon for the Chinese in China, because there was this ban of movement of nuclear weapons. They was no longer allowed to move one nuclear weapon to another country. So the Americans, while they were colonizing China, that law was implemented. So they say, we will build for you a nuclear weapon in your country. Then the Chinese changed their mind while the Americans still producing or processing that nuclear weapon. They said, yeah, we are no longer together. You will see what they do. You do. And then the Chinese continued with that nuclear weapon. The Americans left that nuclear weapon in the middle of the process, thinking that the Chinese won't be able to finish it. The Chinese made it to the end, and then they told them that we ended that process. That's why the Americans are afraid of the Chinese, because the Chinese are able to make a nuclear weapon on their own. They thought that they could not.